Good evening, everybody. Hell's Unicorn here again. You know, I've always considered myself sort of somebody who's a bit outside of the standard political spectrum of today. I conform in many respects to what is considered mainline conservative thought and also probably a bit more so paleoconservative thought. I am pretty well in line with a lot of the standard conservative views of various issues, both economic and also to a large extent social issues. I'm very strongly pro-life. I generally view myself as being a constitutionally oriented person, even though I do have a couple of objections to the structuring of the U.S. Constitution and also the Pennsylvania one. I don't have a problem with most of the established rights found in the first 10 amendments. I think that that's good basic procedural constitutional government practice, what's in those amendments. But there's other things wrong with the Constitution that I have probably addressed in some form in previous videos and probably will in other videos. But just suffice to say, I am a really big proponent of the idea of checks and balances, of liberty-based government, and above all else, open and honest government. And this viewpoint generally tends to put me at odds with most of the people that claim conservatism as their ideology today. When it comes to stuff like TSA groping and porno scanners, a lot of current-day pseudo-conservatives are actually pretty good on protecting our constitutional rights, defending that which is directly and explicitly articulated in our founding documents. But when it comes to stuff like WikiLeaks, it's another bag of cats altogether, because here we're getting into the very heart and soul of present-day American foreign policy. And just as with the TSA thing, how almost everybody except for a rather sizable handful of Obamaites are coming together in opposition to the nonsense, in this area, most of your establishment politicians tend to circle the wagons, and everybody says, woe be it the news agency that actually reports enough truth to wake up the masses. Case in point is Hillary Clinton's attacks on the release of the U.S. Embassy cables by WikiLeaks. Now, some of my newfound friends, people like, Revolution of CG, How the World Works, others like that, are not really happy with these cables being leaked. Personally speaking, I'm ecstatic about it. I think that this is exactly the kind of stuff that real news should consist of. Just like when the Pentagon Papers were released, thanks to Mike Gravel, a man who I owe a debt of gratitude towards, because had it not for him, we probably still would have had a military draft, and I probably would have been drafted, shipped off to Iraq, and I'd probably be dead right now. And the same pretty much applies with WikiLeaks here. This is the kind of stuff that keeps an out-of-control government in check. Enough truth to essentially yank the pants down of Uncle Sam and reveal the polka-dotted, heart-shaped boxers that he has on. That's kind of the image that I get when I see the reaction out of people like Hillary Clinton. I'm linked to the Guardian's article on this particular slab of current events, and I'm going to read a little bit from it, and I'm just going to offer a little commentary. Secretary of State leads Obama administration's reaction to WikiLeaks release, saying it attacks the fabric of responsible government. No, Hillary, I'm just going to start off right there and say this is not an attack on the fabric of responsible government. That is what you are, and all of the other schemers in Obama's government, holdovers from Bush's government, and holdovers from your husband's government, and so on going back over the course of the past couple decades. All of you are the actual attacks on the fabric of responsible government. Responsible government doesn't lie in order to do the things that it ought not do. But anyway, now to get into the actual meat and potatoes of the article here. The U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton today gave the administration's first public reaction to the leaking of thousands of confidential diplomatic documents, describing it as an attack not only on the U.S., but the international community. All I have to say in reaction to that is, what is the greater attack on the international community? Our rabidly out-of-control foreign policy in the Middle East, where we're openly bombing countries that don't really tote the America hell yeah line, places like Yemen, northern Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, and apparently now at the behest of Saudi Arabia, the country that's been sending a lot of money to Al-Qaeda, also Iran, coming to all of you soon. Not to mention all of this nonsense going on in the Korean Peninsula. But anyway, what we're doing right now is a far more present and real attack on the international community than a bunch of documents that essentially reveal some embarrassing remarks by some people that have just a little too much power for my taste, and I think for the taste of most good people when they're well informed. But moving on. In a lengthy statement expressing U.S. regret over the leaks that have thrown the diplomatic world into disarray and created widespread embarrassment for Washington, Clinton said they put at risk the lives of many people in oppressive societies who had spoken to American diplomats. As far as I can tell, based on the estimation of genuine experts in the field of constitutional government, people like Andrew Napolitano on Fox News, and, Shepard Smith for the most part. I mean, he's not really much of an expert, but he generally tends to have the right idea about these things when issues like this come up. They're saying that there's not really much in here that really puts any foreign interests at risk here. We don't have any whistleblowers that are being threatened with reprisal, other than the ones that leaked these cables. This is just a big embarrassment for a lot of people with power. And in my personal opinion, that's a godsend every time it happens. Moving on. Barack Obama also criticized the leak. His White House press secretary, Robert Gibbs, says it was a criminal act and the president is, and it is an understatement, not pleased with this information becoming public. The U.S. condemnation was mainly echoed by foreign ministries around the world, at least in public, with some shrugging aside the release. The White House, Clinton, and the Pentagon announced that a review was underway to tighten up security to prevent a future breach. The number of people with access to classified information is expected to be reduced. Do you really think that that's going to do any good? You can reduce the amount of people that have access to privileged information all you want. All it takes is one person within those ranks that has any kind of a conscience whatsoever for this to happen again. And I also find it very interesting that the person that is supposedly going to be scapegoated in this endeavor is an Army private that obviously does not have the security clearance necessary to get a hold of this kind of stuff. Somebody else leaked this. And instead of doing an investigation and going after the people that are responsible for what is currently a crime, I don't think it is a crime by the standards of good human morality, but according to our current laws, it is a crime to expose the crimes, the secret crimes of our government. The person who did the actual leaking is the one that should be punished, not the media, especially not real, genuine media like WikiLeaks. Let's just focus on the general concept of what media and journalism is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the projection of information outward. It is the spreading of awareness. That's basically what it is. It's the telling of current events. It's the ability to know about things that are not immediately available to you in your respective area or region. That's what the news is. It has nothing to do with shaping opinion. It has nothing to do with manipulating people. That's what the mainstream media does. Real media is, as the old saying goes in Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am. But I digress. Clinton told reporters at the U.S. State Department, "It is an attack on the international community, the alliances and partnerships, the conversations and negotiations that safeguard global security and advance economic prosperity." That's very interesting, Hillary Clinton. You know what else is very interesting? The fact that we don't really have global security or economic prosperity right now, at least not in the sense that we did just a few years back. And even back then, it was pretty bad. I mean, economic prosperity was always a little bit volatile following the unbalancing of the budget, which was the result of a partnership between your husband and Congress. But global security. What is global security to you? We look at all the wars going on. We look at all the other nonsense going on. I mean, if this is global security, I would hate to see what global insecurity looks like. I'm not going to read the rest of this article, but I am going to link it, so anyone who's interested can feel free to read this. But I am just going to focus on the central theme of this story and the central concern that should be at the forefront of everybody's minds here. We Americans like to labor under the illusion, and I stress illusion, that we live in a free country. Let me ask all of you something. How free is an individual when his choices are determined by incomplete information? The very concept of liberty is contingent upon knowing your choices. And when your knowledge is limited, when you don't have all of the facts, your choices become limited. Hence, your freedom is limited, little by little. You're presented with a choice, but the less information you have, the more false that choice becomes. So we have freedom in a perceptive sense, but not really in an actual sense. As far as I see it, there is no way that anybody can live in a society and rightly call it free if there are secrets being kept. And secrets are always kept in the name of national security. That is the mantra of authoritarianism. We must keep secret the terrible things that we do to others, because otherwise it would put our security at risk. Is a little bit of security worth less freedom? Is the illusion of total security worth the loss of nearly all freedom? You ask me that question, it's a simple answer, no. But for a lot of people today, just a little tiny sliver of security is worth every bit of liberty that we have. If you doubt this, take a look at the people that are still apologizing for all of the really horrid stuff that the TSA is doing to plane passengers today. And I'll leave all of you with just this. You cannot support limited government and also support secretive government. They are in direct contradiction with each other. That's my piece. With prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you,